Welcome to Ravenwoods. If you're looking for a good scare, then you've come to the right place. On this channel, we'll be exploring some of the scariest true ghost stories from the internet. From haunted houses to ancient curses, we'll be digging deep into the mysteries of the supernatural. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be spooked. Number 1. One night when I was about 10, I was closing the blinds on my window before bed when I saw a man. He was standing by one of the trees in the yard. He looked like he had a hat and a long black trench coat on. He was holding an axe, and his eyes looked completely white. I froze in fear and just stood there clutching my chest. The next thing I knew, the man began walking towards me. In a blink of an eye, he was face to face with me. The only thing separating us was the glass of the window. I started screaming bloody murder, and my parents came running. I remember them saying they found me curled in a ball, rocking back and forth crying. I had told them about the man, but they didn't believe me, until the same thing happened to my mom. Number 2. My aunt used a Ouija board when she was a teenager with her best friend. A ghost or demon told them one of them would die within the next year, and the other one would die of old age. A year passed, and they stopped thinking too much about it. Then my aunt's best friend got hit by a car while she was on vacation with her family, went into a coma for a couple of days, then passed away. My aunt went to her friend's neighborhood to look for her because she was returning from her trip, and she was worried. Out of nowhere, this golden-haired little girl she'd seen before and never saw again appeared and said to my aunt, "Are you looking for Sally? She's dead." That was only a few minutes after the car accident happened. Everyone, don't use Ouija boards. People die. Please don't let it happen again. Number 3. One day in 2000, I had a friend come visit. We were sitting in the living room at night, and she froze. She was staring at the window. I started to panic, thinking there was someone outside the window looking in at us. I looked at the window, and both our reflections had our heads tilted. We were both sitting up straight. We both jumped and started running out of the house. On the way to the door, I looked at the window, and the reflection showed us still sitting on the couch with our heads tilted. We spent the night elsewhere, and I started keeping the curtains closed after that. I still cover all the windows, especially at night. Number 4. My oldest brother died in his sleep 20 years ago. I had not spoken with him for almost a year due to family issues. The night before the funeral, I was very upset. I was sitting on the floor in my bedroom. My wife was sitting on the bed with her arms wrapped around my chest. After crying into her stomach for a while, I said, "Roop, I'm so sorry for not talking to you." I felt a tap on my right shoulder and then heard my brother's voice say, "Maj, it's all right." I looked up, and my wife's eyes were silver dollar sized. I asked, "Did you hear that?" She said, "I heard your brother say, 'Maj, it's all right.'" Number 5. While staying at a vacation rental, I awoke in the middle of the night after having a bad dream. When I opened my eyes, I saw a woman kneeling at the foot of my bed with her arms down by my feet, groggy and confused. I sat up and looked closer. Whatever it was, she had no face, short hair, and was wearing a striped sweater. A few seconds later, she just disappeared. I sat there, now wide awake and in total disbelief. I never believed in ghosts and had no scientific explanation for what happened. I know I wasn't dreaming. In fact, I laid awake in bed after that for over an hour. I reluctantly told the owner of the house what happened when she came to fix the shower drain, and her eyes welled with tears. She told me something similar had happened to her when she lived there, and that her deceased grandparents once visited her in that room. That gave me the chills. It's been 6 years since that happened, and the memory is still completely clear. Number 6. I live in an apartment building in the city. When I first moved there, I was kind of confused as to how the elevators worked because they were super old-fashioned and didn't have numbers on the buttons. I think if you just counted off from left to right, but I'd always forget. One day I came back from a long day at work and felt super tired. The elevator situation didn't help, and out of frustration, I pressed every single button there was. The elevator just stopped. I didn't feel it moving at all. My dumbass started to pry out the doors open with my hands. It worked, but I wasn't in the lobby floor anymore. I stepped out to a hallway that looked like all the other floors, except the lights were extremely dim. It was literally something out of a horror movie. I got back in the elevator. The door started closing, but just before it fully closed, a white hand shot in between the closing doors. I screamed and closed my eyes, and when I opened them, the door was closed. Number 7. My husband would leave around 5 a.m. for work every morning. I'd roll over and go back to sleep. One morning he left. I heard footsteps walking back towards the bedroom, down our hallway, on the hardwood floors. I rolled over and said, "Honey, did you forget something?" I saw a black shadowy figure in the bedroom doorway. It made its way into the room, past the end of the bed, and around to me. It placed both its hands firmly on my chest and started to press down on my upper body into the bed. I remember that all I could see that it was wearing was an olive green shirt with a bunch of colorful little things on it like yellow lightning bolts, squiggly lines, or something. I took both my hands, pushed it off, and yelled, "No!" It completely disappeared. I was too scared to get out of bed and turn the lights on, so I grabbed the remote, turned on the TV, and lit up the room. I never saw it again. Number 8. I woke up one night when I was about 10 years old and saw a man standing at the end of my bed. I knew it couldn't be my dad because this person was taller than him and had medals on his chest. I must have fallen back to sleep, but when I told my dad about it the next day, he went really pale and asked me to describe the medals as best I could. I drew him some pictures of what I could remember, and that afternoon, my aunt sent over pictures of the medals my great-grandfather had been awarded during World War II. The ones I had drawn included those he was awarded posthumously. I had never seen them before and didn't even know that they existed. It gets weirder, though. Since then, my 2 little cousins and little sister have all seen the exact same thing. None of them knew the story prior to them seeing this person at the end of the bed, but all have described the same medals. Our great-grandfather was buried at sea after being captured during the siege of Singapore, and it's kind of nice to think that he's looking over us somewhere. Number 9. When I was 11, I was spending the night at my friend's house. We wanted to keep talking but didn't want to wake her parents, so we decided to text each other. We texted for about an hour, then put our phones down around midnight to go to sleep. When I woke up the next morning, I grabbed my phone and saw that I had another message from her. It was sent at 3 a.m., and it said, "I'm watching you." I laughed and said as I threw her the message from the middle of the night, but she looked at me confused and said she hadn't sent the message anymore from that night. I showed her the text and told her I knew she was lying, but she swore up and down she had not sent it. I didn't believe her and thought she was just messing with me, but she pulled out her iPhone and showed me that she had not sent the message. This was back before you could delete sent messages on iPhones. I was still pretty skeptical, but still confused as to how the text came from her phone. We looked into it more and found that while her text was sent from her, it didn't come from her iPhone. It came from her old phone, which I still have saved in my phone. At this point, she was a little freaked out because she hadn't used her old phone in months. We went to her room to get her old phone, but ended up having to search for it for nearly an hour because she had no idea where it was. We finally found it, and it was dead, so we charged it. At that point, I started to freak out. We finally got it charged and pulled up her messages, but it wasn't there. She hadn't texted anyone in months. There was no "I'm watching you" text sent to me. We both freaked out. To this day, I still don't know how that text ended up on my phone. Number 10. This happened shortly after my boyfriend unexpectedly passed away. I had such a hard time with his passing, and I was really depressed. At the time, I was living with my family, and my room was down in the basement. I went to take a nap and was lying on my side when I felt the bed sink, as if someone came to lie beside me. Then I heard a male voice say, "You see, I can still touch you." This was years ago. I am now married, but every time I think of that moment, I cry. Even after all these years, he still holds a piece of my heart. Thank you for visiting Ravenwoods. That's all for this episode. If you'd like to see more content like this, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you and have a great day.